Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending the Urban League of Portland's forum for the Washington County Chair. My name is Justice Raji, and I'm Director of Reimagine Oregon, and I will be tonight's moderator. Before we get started, I wanted to thank our community partners, Muslim Education Trust, Human Solutions, Northwest Pilot Project, and Impact Northwest for co-hosting tonight's forum, as well as several others that will be happening this month and next. Without their efforts and support, tonight's event would not have been possible. I also want to highlight the importance of voting. Voting is not an every 4-year event. Every year there are local elections, and they are just as important as our presidential and other federal elections. The deadline to vote for May's election is May 17th, 2022. Democracy only works when people vote, so get registered if you aren't and vote. Tonight, we are joined by candidates running for Washington County Chair, Kathryn Harrington and Beach Pace. These candidates are here to highlight their campaign proposals and answer community questions as potential future Washington County Chair. Invitations were extended to other candidates, and some either had a scheduling conflict or declined. Although we hope tonight's forum will be an exciting and informative event, we also want it to be an orderly one. Here are a few ground rules for the candidates. Please remain muted if you are not answering a question. This is important for audio issues as well as video focus, so please do not forget this. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their opening statement. We will ask you to deliver your opening statements in alphabetical order. Kathryn Harrington, and followed by Beach Pace. When questions are asked, each candidate will have 3 minutes to respond with no rebuttals. There will be 6 questions. We will begin in alphabetical order with Kathryn Harrington. Beach
Beach, are you there? Apologies, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties. It looks like our moderator is having some tech issues. He's going to be rejoining us as soon as he's available. In the meantime, I will continue reading off where we were. So if you just give me one moment, I will pull it up. Excellent. Alphabetical order, great. So when questions are asked, each candidate will have 3 minutes to respond with no rebuttals. There will be 6 questions. We will begin in alphabetical order with Kathryn Harrington, Beach Pace, and then alternate. After questions are complete, each candidate will have 2 minutes to deliver a closing statement. We will ask you to deliver your closing statements in alphabetical order, beginning with Kathryn Harrington and then Beach Pace, Please be courteous and conscientious of time and your fellow candidates. Throughout the forum, when speaking, if you are within 30 seconds of your allotted time, our staff will send you a notification. If you go over time, we will send a chat to let you all know time is up. So beginning with opening statements, we will start in alphabetical order. Ms. Harrington, please begin. You have 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
Thank you. In my first term as chair, I'm proud of my work to bring every person with us as we move forward. I've stood up to those wanting to take the path of least resistance, and instead I've led our county to do the most good, even when it's hard. As to criticism of me, I've chosen not to respond to the name calling and finger pointing. With so much real urgent work to do for you, it feels right to me. My policy of working hard and putting our community ahead of politics has served our families well. We have one of the highest COVID vaccination rates in the state. We've greatly increased transparency and equity in our county operations. We acted swiftly to provide and maintain housing for people in crisis. And amid school closings and uncertainty for our youngest residents, I'm proud that we expanded access to childcare and support for childcare providers. All this action takes leadership. Our community has evolved, and I've made sure your county government evolves too, meeting new challenges and creating new opportunities. My detractors haven't criticized the work I've done. They resent the way I'm pushing to make progress when they are content with the way things have always been done. They resent the progress, so they're attacking me. It's an old tactic. As to being impatient and demanding to my colleagues, I apologize for my tone, but never my drive. You're facing real challenges, and there's real work to be done. I will not apologize for feeling the urgency and demanding the best of ourselves and our government. I hold myself accountable to voters, and on May 17th, it's up to you whether you want to revert to the status quo or keep fighting to make the necessary changes to make Washington County stronger than ever for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harrington. Next up is Ms. Pace. You have 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
Thank you, and good evening. My name is Beach Pace, and I'm running to be the next chair of Washington County Board of Commissioners. Thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Tonight, I'm asking for your support and your vote. I've dedicated my life to inclusive and ethical leadership, including 7 years of service in the U.S. Army, nearly a decade leading corporate sales and marketing teams, and more than 15 years leading nonprofit organizations, and also serving in positions on boards, including the League of Oregon Cities and the West Side Queer Resource Center, and I'm serving as a Hillsborough City Councilor. I've spent my life leading with the spirit of collaboration and inclusivity, and that is why I believe I'm the best choice for Washington County's next chair. I see this race as an opportunity for us to have an effective leader who can work together with city governments, community-based organizations, nonprofits, small business owners, corporations, farmers, and others to meet the needs of all residents in rural, urban, unincorporated, and incorporated areas alike. My priorities of economic vitality, housing, and houselessness, COVID-19 pandemic recovery, and workforce development have resulted in endorsements from 11 mayors and the chambers of commerce for Washington County, Beaverton, and Tigard, as well as city councilors, school board members, and community leaders from across the region. I believe elected leaders must represent their constituents with compassion, listen to their concerns with empathy, and work in respectful collaboration with their staff. In fact, I think that's the bare minimum of what I consider good leadership, and it's my first promise to you. I will treat the people I represent and my staff with respect. We have a unique opportunity to elect a new chair with a commitment to collaboration and deep connections across the county, and with a track record of delivering for a diverse constituency. I am that candidate, and I hope I can count on you and your support and your vote for Washington County Chair on or before May 17th. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ms. Pace. Now we will begin the question portion of our forum. For the first question, we will start with Ms. Harrington. Question 1, an estimated 12,500 children are living in poverty in Washington County. What plans or initiatives are you taking to offset the harmful effects of poverty on these vulnerable children?
Well, let's talk about the results that I've delivered on already in my first term as the chair of the Washington County Board of Commissioners. We have ensured that we've put additional dollars into action to make sure that every family has additional food to eat and get through these terrible, painful 2 years that we've been experiencing with COVID. I've also made sure that parents who are looking to change careers or expand their career skill set have job training opportunities. We've also invested in our first ever pre-apprenticeship program here in Washington County in association with Portland Youth Builders and local school districts, along with Work Systems, Inc. It's those kind of investments that I have helped lead, champion, and put into action for the benefit of our younger children and their parents, because everyone deserves the opportunity to thrive. In addition, we've expanded our suite of permanent affordable housing and have made sure to expand our supportive housing services portfolio. Both of those efforts I championed before the voters so that we have better solutions in place to meet the needs of our community members. With my election as chair, it's a new day at Washington County. We now have a commission that embraces the fact that we are a safety net government and need to focus on addressing community need and not looking to the next shiny new thing or building that we can invest in. I'm Kathryn Harrington, and I want to keep working hard for you. Thank you.
Ms. Pace, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
All right. An estimated 12,500 children are living in poverty in Washington County. What plans or initiatives are you taking to offset the harmful effects of poverty on these vulnerable children?
Thanks for the question. I've worked with children and families now for a long time. I've been a nonprofit CEO for the past 15 years, but I'll talk about my work on Hillsborough City Council. First, we've worked to establish affordable housing in the city of Hillsborough to make sure that gets up quickly. We've also worked with workforce development, specifically investing in Future Connect, Centro Cultural, and Prosperidad to make sure that people have the opportunity to switch careers. We've also provided COVID support to families, specifically around not charging utilities or suspending utilities, especially during the winter months, so people could still have heat and electricity during the winter months. And we've also provided them ways to get assistance to get money to pay for those bills. We've also provided rental assistance. In addition to that, in April of 2020, we actually worked with small businesses in the area to make sure that they were provided grants. And we worked specifically with businesses that were led by minorities, women or minority-owned businesses, to make sure that they could stay afloat, keep their employees on board, and keep their employees paid. As the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters, I've had the honor of working with over 500 children in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. And when COVID hit, we made sure that all of those families got the assistance and got connected to resources that they needed to not just survive, but in essence, in many cases, thrive their way through the pandemic, getting them resources to, again, rental assistance, unemployment, helping them fill out unemployment forms. We've also worked with younger workers, high schoolers who wanted to join the workforce. We provided support for them to make sure that they could bring in their own income. These are just some of the things that I've already done, either as a city councilor or as a nonprofit leader. And it's the type of work that I would bring to the chair position. And the most important thing is that through all of this, I listen, I ask, and I learn, and I want to understand what people need in order to serve them in the best way possible. And I think that's the difference between myself and the current chair, is that I enjoy listening and I enjoy working with other people to find the best solutions possible for people in the county, to include the 12.5 thousand children who are in poverty right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Pace, we'll start with you for our second question. Washington County has a diverse population of people from various cultures, economic statuses, and educational backgrounds. What training and resources does the county staff receive to better provide equitable and inclusive services to community members? Which training and resources would you put in place?
Thank you. So I'll be honest with you, I don't know the specifics of all the training that the county staff receives right now. And I do know that the the Office of Equity and Inclusion has been established. But I do know that in many cases, that office has not been collaborated with. And I'll give you an example. There was a shelter put up in the center of the Latino business district in Hillsborough. So I think there is a difference between performative DEI work and actual DEI work. And so that's something that I would champion, in that it's not just a matter of setting up a department, but it's also a matter of listening to that department. And then, as I mentioned in my last question, reaching out to communities and understanding what is important to them and how we can best serve alongside them instead of despite them, understanding what they need. So I'll stop there, but I think it's, with my background, I rely a lot on understanding what's going on in the community and then collaborating with the staff to make sure that we serve them properly. And actually, I won't stop there, because the other thing is I would take it a step further and make sure the staff understand the importance of working with the community and not just saying this is the best solution, but reaching out, going out into the community and understanding what they need. But until a staff member understands the importance of doing that, their heart's not really in it. So first, I think there's internal training that has to happen in order to be effective externally. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Harrington, I'll repeat the question for you. Washington County has a diverse population of people from various cultures, economic statuses, and educational backgrounds. What training and resources does the county staff receive to better provide equitable and inclusive services to community members? Which training and resources would you put in place?
Thank you for the question. It's a very well-informed one. As you know, before I was chair, in October of 2018, the Leading with Race study in Washington County was shared with the Washington County Board of Commissioners, and they pretty much rejected it. But thankfully, we had new board members elected and serving as of January 2018, a progressive board of commissioners that embraces the fact that we are a diverse and culturally rich county. It took us a good 6+ months to collaborate with our community to develop the equity resolution that we adopted in February of 2022. So it's been a action-packed 2 years to hire our first ever equity officer and help her expand the team so that the team now led by Ms. Latricia Tillman includes people with lived experience and expertise. We also set expectations for each of our departments and adopted a strategic plan for racial equity by the county, so that from day one, there's been leadership from the top, so that all employees know that they need to follow through on racial equity. Training, we have brought in multiple different firms, including those that are recommended by the Government Alliance on Racial Equity, or GARE. And as you may know, we, through our proposed budget for next fiscal year, our team developed a budget equity tool using best practices achieved through GARE. So all employees have had access to additional equity training, including with each of our cultural heritage months. And recently we adopted a new charter for a brand new advisory committee called ACRE, the Advisory Committee on Racial Equity, and we now have applications available for people to apply to serve on that really important committee that's going to be taking a look at all of the policies as they are put forward. As an organization, we've also embraced the co-creation model so that the shelter siting guidelines were developed with community. The land acknowledgement statement was developed with several different tribes and other key leaders in our community. So we're trying it all with incredible leadership from our own staff who have lived experience and are people of color. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pace, hold on, let me repeat the question for you. Or, no, pardon me.
It's the next question.
Yeah, next question, apologies. So this question, we'll start with you, Ms. Harrington. Washington County has recently banned flavored tobacco and vaping sales as of last fall within county limits. This issue has resurfaced as a referendum known as Ordinance 878 on May's ballot. How does Ordinance 878 help or harm the community?
So Ordinance 878 was the legislation that the Board of Commissioners passed on a vote of 3 for and 2 against. This ordinance bans the sale of all flavored tobacco and nicotine products in Washington County. It is a public health best practice. And folks can see more information on that through our work session video back in October, I think it was the 18th, where we had our public health experts and Ms. Tillman, our Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer, share data with us, studies done that show how youth are using flavored tobacco and nicotine products and are really preyed upon by big tobacco, how communities of color are targeted for sales of these products. And it's all about trying to get people hooked with enticing flavors like bubblegum and blueberry. So Ordinance 878 had to be adopted to meet a state deadline by the first of the year. But convenience store owners and big tobacco are not fans of this. So they applied to put an initiative on the ballot to repeal the ordinance. And so that is what is on the ballot now. Do you want to repeal the ordinance, which protects our youth and community members, or do you want to overturn it and repeal it? So I would ask you to please vote no. Do not repeal this ordinance because it is a public health best practice to protect our community members. This stuff's really addictive, and the sooner you get off of these products, the better off you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Harrington. Ms. Pace, I'll read this question for you. Washington County has recently banned flavored tobacco and vaping sales as of last fall within county limits. This issue has resurfaced as a referendum known as Ordinance 878 on May's ballot. How does Ordinance 878 help or harm the community?
Thanks for the question. And I'll start by saying that both of my parents have passed because of tobacco use. And so this was a really interesting thing that when I heard it come up. However, the intention, as previously explained, was to protect children. And frankly, I think they missed the mark. I think the commission missed the mark. I have 2 teenagers, and after the ban passed, I asked them, how easy is it for you to get your hands on some tobacco products, flavored or otherwise? And they told me how easy it was, and they told me how quickly they could get it. And I think this is a great example of how the chair is out of touch, right? And doesn't understand how things work. And I think the importance here is working with the community and not just understanding what the medical professionals are saying, which is true, right? When people get hooked, it's really tough and it is enticing to people. But to understand what is the intention and then what is the better way to get the results that you're trying to achieve. So, for example, working with business owners and saying, this is our intention, right? To say we want to make sure kids don't get hooked on this. And maybe talking about increasing IDs, right? And making sure that ID checks are happening more often, for example. But what has happened is the access is still there. And now local business owners, many of them minority owned, are now suffering. They're having a 20% loss in business, and the kids can still get access. So the whole point is lost. So I don't think it's very helpful to the community. So I understand the intent, and I'm very passionate about, not getting kids, it's not anybody smoking, but the way that this happened, I thought was, again, regardless of the community, without really listening to what's going on and finding a best solution versus a sledgehammer kind of solution of banning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pace. We'll move to our next question, starting with you, Ms. Pace. Reimagine Oregon has identified mandating restorative justice practices and training for educators and students as a policy priority for Washington County. Washington County does not have jurisdiction over schools. They do provide funding for support programs and more. As Washington County Commissioner, what is your commitment to ensuring that educators and students receive this type of training?
Well, I think it would be excellent for that kind of training to occur. I think the more informed people are, I think the more powerful they can be, right? And that goes to supporting folks and making sure they understand their rights, understanding where they are, and what they can ask for and what they can't. So I would fully support that, absolutely. And I'll also say that, full disclosure, my spouse of 20 years has been in law enforcement for 24 years, right? And so understanding how the community can be supported and how people can be educated, I'm all for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Harrington, I'll repeat the question for you. Reimagine Oregon has identified mandating restorative justice practices and training for educators and students as a policy priority for Washington County. While Washington County does not have jurisdiction over schools, they do provide funding for support programs and more. As Washington County Commissioner, what is your commitment to ensuring that educators and students receive this type of training?
Well, once again, I think if you look to my track record to see how in my being the chair, I've helped ensure that we embrace justice reform and move forward. For example, in our legislative agenda for the 2022 short session, we included an outcome of supporting racial and social justice. That was a first ever, and it's made possible because I've been serving as your chair. My commitment to racial and social justice is as strong as ever. We, with our juvenile department, have tried to ensure that we are embracing newer programs and working in a more collaborative and stronger way with the various school districts, as you say, to provide funding. So let's get down to clear specifics. You have my commitment to continue to advocate through our legislative agenda and in working with state legislators to ensure that the policy agenda for racial and social justice has further momentum and can succeed across our state. In addition, I will continue to work with our juvenile department and our elected school boards to ensure that they have the voices of support they need to follow through and embrace the policies that they need to implement so that that change happens for the benefit of the teachers who have to do this work day in and day out, for the students who we're trying to shape early in their young years to be the best adults that we can give them the opportunity to, so that we as a society, a community together, can make improvements and undo the harms that have been done in the past. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Ms. Harrington. We're going to move to our next question, starting with you. COVID-19 cases have consistently dropped for the past few months. Some say that we are post-COVID. How would your reopening policies protect immunocompromised constituents and the most vulnerable in our community?
Oh boy, do I have a lot of experience of these last 2 years toiling with different policy choices. And just today, we were informed that the case counts here in Washington County qualify us for the CDC medium risk category. So case numbers, unfortunately, are expanding as this virus continues to evolve and tries to wreak havoc. So we have over 2,300 employees at Washington County and another over 400 at Clean Water Services. So first and foremost, we are trying to make sure that our employees are protected and feel safe as they do their work serving our community. In addition, as our community members need service, we try to ensure that people are comfortable, that they feel comfortable wearing masks, that if they need the employees to also be masked, that is happening as well. We have also tried to make sure that we have mobile vaccination and health clinics available to serve our community members. This is an incredibly complex virus to live with and figure out how to function. But we as a community have learned a lot together. There are people who have had to change jobs and change careers because this virus and their immunocompromised status don't go well together. And so we've been trying to make sure that those individuals have the career training and the support that they need to continue to be able to control their own destiny and live a thriving life right here in our community. It's really hard, but the bottom line is we have to see each individual as their own individual person and their experience and do our best to try and accommodate that. Our public health team continues to have resources available to either directly work with community members or to help them through other organizations that they are most comfortable with. And certainly we do so with a lot of language support as well. You can be really proud of your Washington County team, and they've been able to do that work leading with the science because we've had good leadership at the board to do just that. There have been times where the pressure of small business and local business to reopen has been really hard to stand up against. But it's important that we continue to be very prudent and save lives. Thank you.
I'll repeat the question for you. Thank you, Ms. Harrington. Ms. Pace. COVID-19 cases have consistently dropped for the past few months. Some say that we are post-COVID. How would your reopening policies protect immunocompromised constituents and the most vulnerable in our community?
Thanks for asking the question. And this kind of hits home. My 89-year-old mother-in-law lives with us. And so we have been working to be very careful as a family to make sure that we're protecting her and others. So again, I appreciate the question. And I would say that both in my time as a city councilor with Hillsborough and as I'm leading Big Brothers Big Sisters, we have had to adjust, right? And adjust with the data and as things change. And I see Chair Harrington nodding. I was nodding as she was speaking too. I mean, this has been rough for everyone, and especially for leaders who are trying to make decisions, the best decisions in order to protect folks. So the question reminds me of a belief called Ubuntu, which is my humanity is tied to yours. And so and yours is through mine, right? And so understanding that we're all in this together, and that by looking at the science and providing culturally relevant and culturally specific information to the community and the different communities in Washington County to educate folks, I think is the best way to make sure that people understand we're not out of this yet, that cases are on the rise, and it's important to be safe. And just communicating that in a real way. And I also think it's important to go out into communities, whether that's through churches or community meetings or whatever it might be, to let people know we're not quite done, we're still going, and the importance of wearing masks and being mindful of who is around you, because it's not just about you, it's about the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pace. So we'll go to our next question, starting with you, Ms. Pace. Synthetic opioids such as fentanyl are highly addictive and require only 2 milligrams to overdose. Fentanyl overdoses accounted for more than 75% of drug overdoses, those deaths last year. How would you use your role as Washington County Chair to support families overcoming this crisis?
Yeah, this is a good question. I have had addiction in my family. I've seen this, and not specifically with fentanyl, but with other addictions. And I think first is to understand the issue and understand that this is on the rise. In fact, it was front page of the Oregonian just recently, and we've seen this sweep across the country. So first, understanding. The second thing is listening to the community and understanding what they're seeing. I recently did a ride along with a sheriff's deputy, and a couple of the calls were around this, where people were having, addiction issues. And so making sure that what I would do as chair is making sure that we have educational support, addiction support. And I think this kind of, in some cases, goes with housing and homelessness, specifically our houseless neighbors, and making sure that they have the support they need, but also support to the greater community is that how to understand if you are addicted, what to do, and providing resources for families and people to go to, or family members to go to in order to get the support they need. One of the biggest things I've heard is a lack of access, is that people know they have an issue, but they don't know where to go or how to get to it. And so making sure that the information is provided often and in different languages and culturally relevant ways to make sure that people understand that those resources are out there and that they can get help and then they can get better. But the other piece specifically about fentanyl is for people to understand that this is happening, that they're buying one drug, they think they're buying one drug and getting another one and dying because of it. And so just that education would be critically important. So my policies would be around education, supporting people who have addiction, and making sure that people are informed as to what is going on out there and that they are in danger. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pace. Ms. Harrington, I'll repeat the question. Synthetic opioids such as fentanyl are highly addictive and require only 2 milligrams to overdose. Fentanyl overdoses accounted for more than 75% of drug overdose deaths last year. How would you use your role as Washington County Commissioner, Washington County Chair, to support families overcoming this crisis?
Thank you for the question. With my being elected, we had a huge shift in the Board of Commissioners. For the 30 plus years that I'd lived in the county, we had a conservative board who practiced a philosophy of individual responsibility. So if you or your family members needed help, you were on your own. If you had difficulties, it must have been because of a bad decision you made recently or earlier in your life. With my election, that changed. For once, we finally have a progressive majority on the board. And with that comes a majority that is willing to embrace the fact that we are a safety net government, which means that we have to ensure we're doing a much better job with our health and human services needs, as well as with our housing needs all throughout our community. Addictions are real here in Washington County. And with this new work and the new progressive board, our staff is now able to move forward with additional practices to meet the needs of our community. And that's another key theme, meeting community needs. So with that, we're moving forward in opening a Center for Addiction Treatment and Triage. To date, if folks want to get treatment for addictions, if they need rehab beds, they have to go outside of Washington County for that, or they have to turn to private insurance. And not everyone has the benefit of that. It's high time that your county government moves forward with that. And with my leadership, we're investing in the Center for Addiction Treatment and Triage, also known as the CAT. And we've been using a co-creation model for that as well, engaging with experts in this arena, including our community care organizations, to make sure that we're doing the best we can for our community. We've also co-created with the neighborhood where these two buildings will be located. So we are making sure that, or we're trying to do the best job possible. And we have expanded our education, and we continue to do so. But the bottom line is we need to provide more services and make those more directly available to the people who are addicted or their family members. We're doing a much better job now, and you can expect continued improvement because the workplace culture at Washington County is changing. And I know change is difficult for a couple of my colleagues, but we have to do it because it's all in service to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harrington. We're a tad bit ahead of schedule, so I have one additional question for both of you. All right. So we'll start with Ms. Harrington, and then we'll come to you, Ms. Pace. I'll read the question. Washington County has some of the largest corporations in Oregon. These corporations have hundreds of jobs, but often outsource employment opportunities to individuals in other states or countries. How do you plan to support workforce development for Washington County residents so they are afforded the same job opportunities that are often outsourced?
Well, so you can see through my track record of serving as your chair that we have increased our investment in workforce training here for the benefit of our residents. And we're doing that with Work Systems Inc., as well as through the construction trades and other great programs here in our region, such as signing on to the Metro Construction Career Pathways program. We also are working with other local business groups, chambers, to make sure that we are working collaboratively and in partnership with them. Because if we're able to leverage new funding opportunities through the state and the federal government, we'll be more successful versus that money going elsewhere in our country. We at Washington County have also adopted an equitable economic development framework, and that includes additional training opportunities for people here in our community. So we, with our new economic development team, we are able to better support our small jurisdictions, our small cities that haven't had the benefit of economic development resources, as well as work with our 3 rural cities to help ensure that each of our communities is stronger and provides more opportunity for our community members. We'll have to keep working on this. We're also using our legislative agendas to make sure that our state legislature and our congressional delegation know that we have these needs here in our community, that we have great organizations to work with and meet the needs of our community. We just need a little bit of their help. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harrington. I'll repeat the question for you, Ms. Pace. Washington County has some of the largest corporations in Oregon. These corporations have hundreds of jobs, but often outsource employment opportunities to individuals in other states or countries. How do you plan to support workforce development for Washington County residents so they are afforded the same job opportunities that are often outsourced?
I appreciate the question. I think our talent's here. The talent's already here. And so when corporations outsource, I think they're missing out, right? Because we have folks right here who could be ready to work. And so I'd like to continue the work around workforce development that we've had at the city of Hillsborough. And I'd also like to empower the community as well, to provide funding for CBOs and nonprofits to lead this, right? Because they understand what's going on in the community. I know that as a nonprofit leader. I've met with other nonprofit leaders who understand what's going on and what folks need in the community right now. And to provide, I would say, culturally relevant training to make sure that people understand what's available and what they could do. I think this is also a collaborative effort, not only with the community-based organizations and the nonprofits, but also with educators and employers, and not just with the big corporations, but with small businesses too. We have plenty of small businesses that need the talent just as much and would be very interested and who are interested in collaborating to find employees. Everybody's hurting for employees right now. So working with, as I mentioned, community-based organizations, nonprofit, education organizations like PCC, even K-12 in the different municipalities, then also working with businesses. And then getting with state legislators, our federal representatives to make sure that we get the funding down to the county to make sure that we can support this, fund it, and the training happens and the support happens for the people who are ready and willing to work in Washington County so they don't have to leave. But I think we have to invest in the organizations that already know our community to help this workforce development happen. And that hasn't happened in the past. We also don't have a workforce development board for the county. There's no leadership there, right? We don't have a board specific, workforce development board specific for Washington County. We're working with Multnomah County and we're not getting the same service. And so that actually, I don't know why that is. And I think we need some leadership there. And that's the kind of leadership that I would bring, is that we know what needs to get done. We need to make it happen. And I know it can happen. I know there's plenty of people who are ready and willing to do this. I've talked to employers who are ready and willing to hire, but they don't have the people there because they're not trained and they're not being supported. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pace. I have one more bonus question for us. We have the time. So I'll start with you, Ms. Pace, reverse the order. Creating a great policy is easy part of governance. Could you discuss how you would create a high performance teams and rewarding work environment within the county that gets the results that really matter to our communities?
Would you mind repeating the question?
Yes. Creating a great policy is the easy part of governance. Could you discuss how you would create the high performance teams and rewarding work environment within the county to get the results that really matter to our community?
Sure. I really appreciate this question because I'm very passionate about leadership. And first of all, valuing the folks that I get to work with, I think is very important. A little bit about my background. I went to West Point. I understand leadership. I served in the U.S. Army. I was in corporate America for 10 years, and I've been in nonprofit for 15 years. In my nonprofit leadership, I've led 2 organizations, one through a recession and one through COVID. And that's been through positive leadership and awesome team building, frankly. And when we're talking about a rewarding work environment, the first thing is listening to and valuing your employees. My opponent has been found. There is a report out that says that she creates a hostile work environment. People don't like to work in a hostile work environment. They feel threatened. And so no one somebody in that situation is not worried about a creative solution to an issue. They're worried about their job, or they're worried about being yelled at or berated. Whereas I have the experience and the positive leadership that has, as I mentioned, led 2 organizations through hardship. As I mentioned, the recession in 07, 08, and now COVID. I took my team in corporate. We were 28th in the nation, and in 6 months we were first. And in the Army, I led teams all over Europe to make sure that we could protect the president, vice president, secretary of state, and I did so positively. So first, valuing the employees, understanding what's going on with them and what barriers they're facing, but also working with the community and understanding what's important to them. What are they faced with? What are some of the barriers they're seeing? And then marrying those 2 things, like bringing the staff together, bringing the community together, and finding best solutions. But most importantly, through all that is valuing the employees that I get to work with, listening to them and understanding where they're coming from. So I agree. I don't necessarily agree that great policy is easy. I think policies are tough, but I think leading teams is what I'm very good at. And I've been doing it for 30 years. I've been formally trained in leadership, and I've proven myself through 4 sectors. The 4th sector is my time on Hillsborough City Council, where we've done some great change for the community of Hillsborough. So leadership is my passion, and creating a rewarding work environment is something I love to do. I've done it in the past, and I'd love to bring it to the Washington County Chair position because, frankly, it's not happening right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pace. I'll repeat the question for you, Ms. Harrington. Creating a great policy is the easy part of governance. Could you discuss how you would create the high-performance teams and rewarding work environment within the county to get the results that really matter to our communities?
Thank you, Justice, for that question. It is true that the work culture at Washington County is changing. I've ensured that we do our board work and community work transparently, modernizing policies, practices, and workforce expectations. Systems, formal and informal, were in place for decades without public service standards of performance, let alone excellence. Continuous improvement is now an expectation. Workforce training is now available for every employee here at the county. I want to continue to support this ongoing transformation and bring our Washington County up to the highest levels of performance as a government. You heard me earlier talk about the co-creation model. We do that with our employees as well as with our community. You can see that through the Major Streets Transportation Investment Program. For the first time ever, we are working with the community to ensure that we have equitable practices right in the development of the evaluation criteria. Better policies lead to better outcomes, and we've brought in outside expertise to help our employees make that change, as well as working with our community so that we all are able to do a better job with our community. As you can imagine, there has been some resistance. We've certainly seen it in some of our board members having difficulty embracing the full services portfolio and accepting that Washington County is a safety net government, requiring modern policies and practices. Prior to my serving as chair, discussing challenging policies and sharing values-based opinions and data-centered positions was considered not collegial, an attitude which is a relic of the past. These changes have been hardest on commissioners who've served for decades, but these modern practices have become part of the new normal, not only of the county board, but also for our employees and our workforce and the workplace culture. My ongoing focus is on this critical work that needs to be done to deliver for Washington County families as we recover and rebuild from COVID-19 and work together to build a county that allows the opportunity for everyone to thrive. We can have a brighter, more hopeful future together, but it's going to take work. As this question illustrates, it takes leadership, it takes policy changes, it takes commitment, and making sure that we define outcomes that are desired, goals, and support our employees to do this work on behalf of our community. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, candidates, for your responses, and audience members for your submitted questions. Now the candidates will deliver their closing statements in the following order. Ms. Harrington, followed by Ms. Pace. Ms. Harrington, you have 2 minutes, and your time starts now.
Oh, good. I'm not muted anymore. Thank you. Hello there. I'm Kathryn Harrington. And yes, I'm running for re-election as the chair of the Washington County Board of Commissioners. Growing up in a military family, I lived all over the country, from rural to suburban communities. Then, nearly 30 years ago, high-tech jobs brought me and my husband to Washington County. There are few places where physical beauty meets business successes, where historic family farms and nurseries bump elbows with cutting-edge tech companies. Washington County is one of these places. As an employee with both large-scale and small-scale tech firms, I've seen the challenges and opportunities companies experience. More importantly, I've seen how working families succeed and struggle as companies boom and bust. The growth of industry has brought so many new opportunities for Washington County. But with that growth, we also have challenges: traffic congestion, rising home and rental prices, and strains on our public services. Watching the boom and bust of companies and its impact on families and our community is why in 2004, I decided to change careers. I wanted to give back to Washington County, my first true home. In my 3 years as county chair, I've delivered on affordable housing and homeless service solutions, expanded affordable childcare, directed economic relief to small businesses to create jobs, and shepherded growth of Washington County in a manner that serves our way of life. I've championed equity in our policies and programs and expanded transparency and community engagement. I've also pushed smart transportation options to reduce congestion and carbon pollution. And I've worked to protect family farms and nurseries which surround our communities. The chair of the county commission must shape our opportunities for the benefit of all, navigate our challenges so no one is left behind, and preserve what is so special about Washington County today. I'm Kathryn Harrington, and I want to keep guiding Washington County forward. And I ask for your vote this election. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harrington. Next is Ms. Pace. You have 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
Thank you very much, everyone. My name is Beach Pace, and I am asking for your vote for Washington County Chair. I have leadership experience across 4 sectors: the military, corporate, nonprofit, and government. I've spent my life leading, and I do so collaboratively and ethically and inclusively. I have been out in the community at events, canvassing door to door and on the phones, and listening to the concerns of Washington County community members. The current chair has mentioned that she has brought a progressive majority to the commission, and that wouldn't change. I am also a Democrat. With me, you get democratic values and the benefit of leadership experience and respectful leadership. The current chair talks about equity, but she has created a hostile work environment. She has said she will not apologize for her actions. She has cost the county over $100,000 in payouts to an employee and investigations. This is unacceptable. So I will say again that with me, you still get democratic values, you still get a progressive commission, but you also get an experienced leader who listens, learns, and respects the people that they work with, that I work with, and brings equity and inclusion to the role. As I mentioned earlier, I have support of 11 mayors. I have support of community members, school board members across the county, and I think that speaks volumes. Via the ballot, Washington County community members have the opportunity to demand collaborative and respectful leadership that will bring about real change. I can provide that leadership, and so I ask for your vote. Please vote for me, Beach Pace, for Washington County Chair, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Pace.
Mm-hmm.
As the Urban League's Washington County Chair Forum comes to an end, I want to give special thanks to our audience members who submitted questions and our partners at Open Signal who are airing this Urban League Forum. We thank the community partners who supported this event. Thank you again to the candidates, Kathryn Harrington and Beach Pace, for participating today. Please continue to stay well on the campaign trail. I want to extend appreciation to our co-sponsors as well and community groups who help us uplift civic participation in the Black community. Audience, please remember that the Urban League is a nonprofit organization that relies upon donations to be able to serve the community. Learn more about our fantastic programs and powerful advocacy by visiting our website at ulpdx.org. If you're available, I invite you to donate. On May 21st at 10 a.m., the Urban League of Portland is hosting their virtual 2022 annual member meeting. President and CEO Nkenge Harmon Johnson and invited guests will share thoughts and experience about the Urban League, Portland's award-winning organizational workplace that's changing the lives of thousands of Oregonians and Southwest Washingtonians. The event will be streamed on the Urban League of Portland's Facebook page and YouTube pages. Folks who register will have the opportunity to win Urban League swag, such as clothing, hats, and more. Winners will be announced during the program on May 21st. Please visit the Urban League of Portland's website at ULPDX, get involved in events or register. And you can call at 503-280-2600. On behalf of the Urban League, President Nkenge Harmon Johnson, the Board of Directors, and all our members, I thank our audience for participating today. If you are not a member of the Urban League, I welcome you to join or renew your annual membership. Visit the website at ulpdx.org to join the movement for justice and equity in Oregon. Also, if you need assistance voting during this primary or registering during the general staff, the staff at the Urban League are ready to talk with you. Reach out via our website, social media, or call 503-280-2600 for assistance. I'm Justice Raji, and good night. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Good night.